Hey everybody, this is Brent from Learn Jazz Standards, and you're listening to the LJS podcast, episode number 3, where we're going to be talking about how to overcome low self-esteem as a musician. Very important topic. I'm really excited to talk to you about this today. But before we start, I just want to bring to your attention that all the music on today's show is by our founder, the founder of Learn Jazz Standards, Camden Hughes, his new album, Introspective. So if you want to listen to more of his music, if you want to purchase his album, just go to his website, camdenhughes.com. If you're listening to this podcast on the website, you can find it in the show notes and all the other notes for this show today below in this post. Now, without further ado, I want to talk about musicians having low self-esteem. And I especially find this true for jazz musicians, because jazz music tends to be this kind of music that really demands a lot of virtuosity, and it's a very demanding kind of a music. And the more serious you get about it, the more I find that people get hard on themselves and very self-critical. And you've probably experienced this before. You came off of a gig, or you came off of a jam session, or some other situation where you were playing with other people, and you thought to yourself, wow, I suck. I played so bad. I wish I did this. I wish I did this. Why did I play this? And also you start comparing yourself to others. Oh, that person is really good. I wonder what they thought about my playing. Or, you start looking around and feeling inferior somehow. You start feeling like a sense of anxiety over your playing, which is very unhealthy. And so that's why I really find it's important to talk about this subject. You've probably experienced this before. I'm sure you know others that have experienced this before. I just got off of a gig the other week, and during the break, we were at the bar getting a beer, and the drummer said, I asked the drummer, "How are you doing today? What's going on?" And he said, "Oh man, I'm feeling so bad about my playing. It's such a rough night tonight." And I said, "Really?" Because I wouldn't have known the difference. He sounded great to me, but there's all these things going on inside a musician's head all the time. And I think it's important for us to get the very most that we can out of music and the enjoyment, and also perform at our very best. We have to learn how to overcome those feelings of insecurity and low self-esteem. So I'm going to go over about 4 different things that we need to start keeping in mind in order to overcome this and get our self-confidence back and get ourselves on the right track. Let's check it out. The first thing I really want to urge you to do is stop comparing yourself to others. Okay, you need to stop comparing your situation, your life, with other people's lives. And this is important, not just in music, but in life in general, right? If we continually are matching ourselves up against other people, it's going to be very self-destructive. And in a musical sense, our music is going to suffer. We're always going to think, I'm not good enough. This other person has what I don't have. And this is very hurtful to yourself. I want you to stop doing this. I tell a lot of stories on this show, if you've been following the podcast so far, about college. And I don't know why. I just seem to have a lot of experiences in college that come to my mind. But when I was in college, I had a good friend. We were roommates. We played together all the time. And he was a great player. We were both guitar players. And when I first met him, he had been playing jazz a lot longer than I had been playing jazz. I was, relatively, newer compared to him. And he was a very talented player. And we had a good time playing with each other. But I always found myself with this inner competition, like trying to get as good as he was, or trying to overcome as good as he was, or every time I heard him not quite doing that great, I would feel good, which of course is very unhealthy. And that's something that you need to learn to overcome. When you're at a jam session, stop thinking about, what is that person thinking about me? What is that person thinking about me? Or that person plays really well. Am I as good as that person? None of these things matter at all. All that matters is your story, where you came from. Always be trying to set personal records. This is, music and jazz, it's not a competition. It's all about establishing yourself where you're at and getting better all the time. And that's all you should care about. When I moved to New York, I learned very quickly that I could not compare myself to others because there is so many bigger fish in the sea. It was important for me at that moment to say, if I continue comparing myself to others, I'm going to have this self-loathing journey throughout the rest of my musical career, and it's going to be awful. I really had to come to terms with it at that point. So realize that you don't need to compare yourself to others. All that matters is your story. So start focusing on that. Stop comparing yourself to others. The next thing I want you to do is realize that musicianship is a journey. Okay, musicianship is a journey. Don't look at it as a destination. Like music is this thing somewhere out in the distance, this excellence that you're going to eventually get to. You're not driving down a highway and suddenly you're going to be there. Look at it as a journey, not a destination. I was listening to a Benny Green, the pianist Benny Green, an interview once. He was at a jazz workshop and he was giving an interview. And one thing he said along these lines is, we're all in this thing together. We're all on this path. Some of us are at different parts. Some of us are ahead. Some of us are behind. It doesn't matter because we're all in this thing together, working towards one common goal. So we're all united under this thing called music. And I thought that was a beautiful thing. I used to study with Vic Juris, guitarist Vic Juris. If you don't know who Vic Juris is, please go check him out. Amazing, amazing guitar player. And I used to study with him. I would take the train from my apartment in New York, and I would go to New Jersey. And one time I had a lesson with him, and I was talking to him and saying, I'm just really unhappy with where I'm at musically. I wish I was playing better. I wish I was doing this. I wish I was doing that. And Vic's response to me was very simple. He said, "Me too." And I thought to myself, wow, how could someone who's that talented and that amazing feel the same way? And that kind of goes along with that thought. He's been playing for forever, yet he still feels like there's room for improvement. He still feels like there's better things that he could do with his music. And I think that's something to realize too. It doesn't matter where you are on the path. You will never have arrived. It's a journey. Another teacher of mine, Bruce Foreman, another guitar player. If you don't know who Bruce Foreman is, check him out. I was taking some lessons with him, and he realized that I was incredibly unhappy with my playing, and I was really trying to reach for something that I just wasn't quite musically mature enough to do yet. I had been listening to a lot of jazz, a lot of music. I knew what I wanted to sound like. I just wasn't quite mature enough to do that. And he took me aside at one point and said to me, "Brent, play from where you're at, not where you want to be. Play from where you're at, not where you want to be." And I think what he was trying to tell me in that moment is be okay with where you are at now. It's okay to be where you're at now. Keep trying to set those personal records. Keep trying to push the envelope. You will get better. It's all about time and pressure. So remember to realize that musicianship is a journey. This next one is what I would consider to be the root of the problem, and that's don't place your whole self-worth into music. Okay, I find that a lot of musicians, especially the ones that are really serious about music, obviously, are placing way too much of their their self-worth and the way they think about themselves into music. So suddenly, how good you feel about yourself is dictated by how well you played at the gig, or how often you're practicing, or how many compliments you got on your solo at the jam session. And that's an incredibly unhealthy way to live your life. So you need to really focus on not making music the dictator of your happiness. That's very important. You need to find worth in other things. And for me, this was huge because I really did go through a period of my life where music was what made me feel like I was worth something. And that caused me a lot of anxiety. It caused me a lot of hardship to go through that because I was not always going to be playing great. Things were not always going to be going well with my music. Sometimes the music was there, sometimes it wasn't. And if you're living your life that way, it can be very hard. So you need to find self-worth in other things. Realize that you as a human being are more worthy and more worthwhile than just simply music. You are just simply an instrument that is letting music flow out of you. It's not what's dictating who you are. So I would definitely suggest, this is the root of the problem, don't place your whole self-worth into music. If you are right now, stop doing it today and move on. So this one kind of tags on to the last one, and that is play music because you love it. Play music because you love it. When you sit down with your instrument, remember to be grateful. Remember that you are blessed to have the opportunity to get to play your instrument and to play music. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. You need to stop looking at music as a means to an end, but rather something to be valued and enjoyed now. Okay? Don't put your self-worth into music. Just enjoy it. Just love it. If you're loving it, if you're having fun, if you're not comparing yourself to others, you're automatically going to be playing better just because of that. Without the stress, the pressure, and the anxiety, your music is going to be free. There won't be chains around it. You're going to be able to express yourself more purely, more honestly. Allow yourself just to have fun. You know, maybe if you're the kind of musician right now that is really serious and, really trying to, make something of yourself in music or jazz, maybe step back for a little bit and say, is it worth me feeling anxious? Is it worth all this stress? Is it worth me beating myself up over and over and over again? Step back and ask yourself those questions. At the end of the day, I think you're going to realize that the most beneficial thing you can do for yourself is to just enjoy music. Don't put your self-worth into it. Realize that musicianship is a journey. It's not a destination. And stop comparing yourself to others. If you're doing all those things, and if you're at least being aware of these issues, of these stressors in your life, you're going to find a way to become more liberated. Your music will be free. It won't be shackled. And you'll get what I'm talking about. So just play music because you love it. All right, and that's all for our show today. We want to thank you for joining us. We want to thank you for listening, and we also want to hear from you. If you have any opinions about this, if you have any of your own stories of overcoming low self-esteem in your musicianship, we want to hear from you. Leave us a comment in the comments below. We are all about creating a community here at Learn Jazz Standards, and we just appreciate your participation. And if you're not plugged in with Learn Jazz Standards yet, the best way to do that is to sign up for our newsletter, okay? You can do that at www.learnjazzstandards.com/newsletter. It's the best way to get connected with us. As a little added bonus, you also get our free ebook, a jazz guide to practicing. So it's a win-win situation. Also, just want to one more time plug my new ebook that we released last week, 15 Essential Jazz Etudes. It's a book that helps you learn jazz language, runs you through 15 short jazz solos over popular jazz standards. It's a great tool for you just to help learn more jazz language and improve your soloing. You can find that in our store on the top menu bar if you're on the website right now. We'll be coming out with our episode 4 of the LJS podcast next week, so stay tuned for that.